I'm excited to be here with you. Thanks for coming back to the second presentation on day 2. We are really pumped to be here, and I'm excited to share with you a little bit about my morning routine, and momentum-based planning. But before we get started, I just want to make sure that people are actually here. And make sure that you guys are watching. I want to let's get some interaction in the chat. Just one thing. Tell me one thing. If you've been here for all 3 presentations, one thing that got you excited, one thing you're going to implement, an insight you had, something that was game changing for you. Put it in the chat now. And whenever I do this, I always have a little lump in my throat until somebody finally puts something in. Let's see here. James Cohn says, last session was quite hard for me. Wasn't able to nail down my client-centric mission during the presentation, but I made good progress during the break. Nice, James. You know what? We teach that exercise all the time at our live events or our virtual live events. And oftentimes it takes people maybe a little bit longer than the time that they have, a little bit of time at a break. But here's what I want you to know, understand. Every first draft is not going to be the best thing in the world. We have a saying around our office, first drafts suck. Get yours out of the way early and start on that second draft. And so really what you're trying to do is come up with something that's passable, come up with something that could work, come up with something that's better than the blank void you may have now, and then improve it over time. We're not trying to stick the landing and have a perfect client-centric mission in the first time that you do it, but I do want you to see that you can get a draft done in minutes. This does not take a 2-day offsite or a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of investment. We can do this fast. All right, cool. This is okay. Now we've got some stuff coming in here. So let's see here. Pamela says excited for the next one. At Home Cooking Club. What's up? Rachel says here I'm watching. Brian Barton says here excited to learn about planning. Nick Craven says his biggest takeaway was the mission statement. Matt Freich says the mission. Hope I can get the feedback. Hope I can get feedback. Oh, Mark Freich. Mark, I might be able to give you feedback at the end of this one. At Home Cooking Club says loved the client-centric approach. It's not how it should be in business. We should build the entire organization, the entire team, everything we do around the movement we serve. The way that we do that is by starting with this client-centric mission framework. One of the challenges, one of the books that I discourage my clients from reading is called Good to Great. It's actually, it's almost sacrilegious in a business context to say, I tell my clients not to read Good to Great. Well, the reason is they explain mission and vision, or Jim Collins explains mission and vision based on the data he has, not the experience hands-on with his sleeves rolled up. And it's just not how it works in the real world. So I'm excited for you to have it. The client-centric approach definitely is a game changer. Actually, as I said that, Brian Barton said, the client-centric model is a game changer. Emily Evans says 2 of the 3, but the avatar talk was game-changing for me. Really appreciate help on that. Emily, congratulations, and it's my pleasure. Heather Levine, I think, mission statement feedback was fantastic. Let's see here. Desafio says morning mindset. I'm going to get into that a lot more right now. We're going deep on your mornings in just a minute here. Tim Moffitt says being able to see where I was in the billionaire code was eye-opening, isn't it? I remember when I first put it together, found out where I was. I'm like, man, I've got work to do by looking left. I need to go get all of this shored up. In fact, the first time I ever put the billionaire code together, it was one of those, I call it coaching inception, where you think you're creating content that you're going to share with your clients and your members, and then you create content and it's staring back at you saying, you need this more than anybody else. That's exactly how it felt for me the first time that I saw the billionaire code after we had created it. Let's see here. The Holistic Chef says, the explanation of how our personality traits change under pressure and noise. It's a big one. I think I missed a whole bunch of these. Gosh, you guys are awesome. There are so many comments in here. There's no way I'm going to be able to get to all of them. Charles Robert has a cool one. He says, being able to finally come up with a client-centric mission I haven't been able to clarify forever. Congratulations, Charles. That is game-changing for a business owner right there. Sandra says, choosing one avatar. Angeline V-Ray says, last one was awesome. Made so much more progress on my mission than before. Nicholas Lalonde says, thanks for helping me narrow down the bigger picture. Help find the starting point. That's super awesome. This is fantastic. You know what? I'm going to read just 2 or 3 more. Let's see here. Brian Barton says, oh my God, thanks for telling me not to read Good to Great. I keep being told to read it. I will now abstain from doing so. You know what? Here's the issue with Good to Great. It's one of those business books where there's not a lot of controversial stuff in it. Like most of it's kind of vanilla, kind of platitudes. I don't know. People think it's like the Bible for business, but when I read it, I want to argue with it. I want to argue with half of what Jim Collins says. I worked with the companies in Good to Great. Circuit City, are you kidding me? You're going to hold that up as a Good to Great company? I was in the consumer and computer electronics industry. Circuit City was by far the most challenging retailer in the United States. And by the way, corruption and all kinds of other issues that they had as they folded. We can go back and look at the federal indictments if we want. There's a lot of issues there. So Collins, I feel like, looked at way too much data and didn't spend enough time in the real world. And on top of that, the way he says to come up with your purpose and your mission and your vision, he claims that that's how companies in his book were run. But let me tell you, from somebody who worked inside those companies with teams in those organizations, they did not use what he's saying. So be careful with that book. I think there's just way too much research, not enough real world experience, and actually hands-on experience. And what Jim Collins misses by a country mile is the fact that every business is a movement. You know, he looks at a business as a business. It's like self-contained. They create a mission, they create this, do this, and then the whole world reacts to them. Let's get real. The business is part of the world around it, and the client-centric mission actually creates the movement around the business. It's far more effective. So I'm glad you're not going to read that book, Brian. Pamela says, my biggest takeaway was learning that the mission statement is deeper than just 2 to 3 lines as college tells you or as Good to Great tells you. The mission statement's actually incredibly deep. In fact, all you saw was the client-centric mission. What we teach our clients is how you change all 4 of those into the parts of your movement, where you define and unify your movement. That is who you're going to help. You provide a plan to your movement. That is how you're going to help them. You defend your movement where they're under attack. That is the change you want to make. And you advocate for your movement. That is how you will know you're successful. So not only does a client-centric mission act as your long-term inspirational someday goal, it also acts as the basis for the social movement behind your company. Completely and totally game-changing. So I'm just going to add a couple more here. Asher Aw says, looking left in the Billionaire Code was so good. Thanks, brother. Same here, man. That was such a... You know, it's funny. Like I said, it's coaching inception. We created the Billionaire Code, and the first person who ever got value from it was absolutely 100% me and my team. Let's see. Marie Portia says, definitely the mission vision helps to refine both of what I do and my avatar. Yeah, it works in multiple ways like that. Diane Gunderson says, I have a lot of work to do to dial in our mission yet. James Combs says, thank you. The biggest takeaway, know who you want to serve rather than try and figure out what you might like to do. Amen. Too many business coaches out there coach, figure out what you want to do. You know what? I have to stick around until people are successful. We help people go from the very beginning startup all the way to multiple tens of millions. And so I'm not going to give you a framework or a strategy at the beginning that's going to get you stuck later on. Figure out first who you want to serve, and you will love your business as long as you can. Believe me, growing a business is hard. It's challenging. It's frustrating. You can have days where there's conflict and anxiety and ambiguity. If you're in love with your movement, that is what will keep you going forward. Let's see here. Marisol says, I'm understanding myself way better, especially on how to create the right environment for myself, both inner and external. Awesome. And let's see here. James, I'm going to give you 3 more. James Combs says, looking left, that too. My future focus has tied me up so much over the years looking right. No kidding. You know, it's interesting for a lot of entrepreneurs. We spend so much time looking into the future. We don't build a foundation in the present. That is an incredible insight. Thanks for sharing, James. And Emily says, you just blew my mind summarizing it like that. Emily, I don't know what it was that I summarized. I'm just talking up here. So maybe you can tell me where I blew your mind, because I'd like to know. And then I'm sharing these to my students because they're game-changing. That's from Angeline. And Namita Dash says, thank you so much. It's about serving that specific target audience to the fullest. Awesome. So now we're at the point where this is actually a presentation I've been really excited about, sharing our momentum-based planning system, and really sharing a little bit about what I do in my mornings and how I have created efficacy and how I've created forward progress on a day-to-day basis. But before I jump in here, I want to just talk a little bit about planning systems. And you know, I'm going to do this thing in just a second. But before, I just want to set this up. How many of you in the audience right now, and give me the answers over here. By the way, let me just see here. Okay, give me the answers over here. The client-centric mission. Got it, Emily. How many of you have tried to buy a planning system or a execution system? Like, I've tried so many. I tried Tony Robbins' RPM planner. Man, that was overwhelming. The Franklin Day Planner kind of got me stuck in a tight execution loop. I tried the day timer. There's so many. I've spent thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars on these. In fact, at one point, Katie and I in our company with the day planner, with the Franklin Day Planner system, we actually bought Franklin's for everybody on our team. So not only were we using it, our entire team was using it. So we probably spent tens of thousands of dollars. So how many of you have purchased something and you've tried to use it? See, here's what I see over and over again. People buy a planning system. The complication level is so high, it's not built for our personality type. It really doesn't help clarify things or create momentum in the morning. It becomes another thing to do that's frustrating, causes anxiety, and maybe even ambiguity because there's parts of the planner you don't know how to use, and then maybe you've done what I've done. I've actually bought a planner before, didn't use it as intended, and carried it around as a notebook. I had really expensive sheets of paper as a notebook. How many of you have been there? Is there anybody else who can So I got some answers over here. This is totally awesome. So I'm going to jump in just a second to the training, but Emily says, oh my God, I bought so many and even tried building my own. Emily, I've been there. It took me and an entire team to build this one. Not only my entire team, I actually worked with Robert Cooper, who's one of the foremost psychologists in the country, in the country. He's also a neuroscientist. We worked together on the format of the Momentum Planner to know that we were actually putting the right elements into it and that we weren't going to create any harm. We weren't going to hurt anybody with how we were telling them to plan. So I've been there. If you've been through that frustration, that irritation of buying something, thinking it was going to help you only to have it slow you down, I can empathize. Let's see here. It's way too overwhelming. I've tried many, more than I should admit to. Most are collecting dust. Yep, the Franklin Christian Heart Center day planners, guilty of the notebook thing. Thank you for validating, Sharon. But Brian says, yes, an expensive notebook. This is so awesome. Okay. Sherilyn says, yes, I'm so excited to see what your system is. Well, Sherilyn, I'm excited to share it with you. And with that, give me 1 second. I'm going to get up for 30 seconds. Don't go anywhere. I'm just going to set the lights on something, and then I'm going to be right back to click us in. Or to clap us in. Is that cool?
Yeah, I lost the share from Zoom. Sorry.
Quick intermission, everybody. We have one quick, is that it?
Yep, there we go.
Okay, one quick technical issue there. All right, Eddie, are we ready?
We are ready, Alex.
All right, let's do it. Ready, everybody? All right. Welcome. Today, I'm excited to share with you momentum-based planning. If you're like me, then you've probably had the following scenario in your life at some point. You've looked around at everything you've had to do, and you realize that it's kind of piling up on you. And the list of Post-it, or the stack of Post-it notes and the to-do lists on never-ending yellow pads or folders or files or scratch pieces of paper aren't working anymore. And you decide, you know what? I need to get a system together to get all of this in one place so I can plan successfully, know where I'm going, execute like crazy, and move forward. And so you go out and you buy a planning and execution system. I've done this. I've actually bought so many, it's embarrassing to talk about them. In fact, I can't move this camera, but there's a drawer over here with at least 30 different planners that I've bought to try and get my life straight, try and make sure I'm in momentum, try and move myself forward. And here's what's happened over and over again. One of the following things. By the way, if you can relate to these, let me know. So the first one is, I buy a system, I start trying to use it. It's so complicated, I almost immediately give up because just the implementation of the system feels like it's going to take more time than it ever gives me. That's one scenario. Another scenario, I buy the system, I start trying to implement it, I put together, and then I use it for a few weeks, and I realize after 3 or 4 weeks, not only does it not feel like I'm getting momentum, it feels like the thing that's making me anxious each morning, the thing that's frustrating me each morning, the thing that I'm avoiding more and more each morning. How many of you have been through that scenario? Or you buy a planner, you get excited about it, you bring it home, you open it up, you look at it, and you start asking yourself, what is each one of these little blocks for? What is each one of these spaces for? I mean, I've seen some weird stuff in planners, like expenses. Who writes down their expenses on a daily basis on a sheet of paper that's never going to be anywhere? Or, call notes. Like there's weird stuff in some planners. And then here's the biggest issue that I see with planners today. You buy a planner and then you realize what it really is and intended to be used as is a paper calendar, which we all use a calendar on a computer today. Is there anybody listening to me right now that does not use a computer calendar? Even me, I get intimidated and I'm not great with calendars. They actually overwhelm me. When I open up a calendar, I literally immediately feel overwhelmed. But on that same token, do we really need a calendar in our planners anymore? Most planners actually revolve around a calendar, and that's why today they're redundant and they don't really work. So my goal today is to introduce you to the first planning and execution system ever created specifically for the entrepreneurial personality type, specifically around our sensitivities and awarenesses, specifically around how we navigate the world so that we can get into and stay in momentum. I'm excited to share with you the momentum-based planning system. So let's start with your morning routine. By the way, I'd like to know how many of you have a morning routine right now? How many of you have a morning routine that you execute each morning? I'd like to just get a gauge on how many people in the audience are already doing this, because if you don't have a morning routine, this is what we call step one for all of the members in our programs. It might surprise you that people come into our programs and we have memberships that are anywhere from $297 a month to $2,500 a month. So anywhere from about $3,600 a year to $30,000 a year. And with every membership, whether it's the entry level or the high level one, where we have our multi-million-dollar members, everybody completes a morning routine, simply because it's one of the most effective ways to give yourself leverage as an entrepreneur. By the way, who's the most important person in your business? Now, we're not here in person, because if we were, I would say, I would hope you say you are. When I go out and speak, I'll ask groups of entrepreneurs, who's the most important person in your business? And I get all different kinds of answers, like my wife, the customer, my assistant, the person who's going to buy tomorrow, the next person who buys something we sell. The real answer and the right answer is always the most important person in your business is you as the entrepreneur in charge. So if we can give you leverage through a morning routine, we improve everything for the business. So here are some of the elements of a morning routine that are important. First, it should be developed in advance. You should put some time into this morning routine. When I teach morning routine, there's a 7-video module. It takes about 25 minutes to get through, but each video shows you another element of how to build your morning routine. The next part is all critical items are documented. Here's my morning routine. It's not that long. There's only about 20 items on here, but here's what I know. If I get through these 20 items, I have set myself up for success during the day. And it's not just set myself up for success. I set myself up for success physiologically, so physically I'm taken care of. I've breathed, I've done my breathing, so I've got oxygenation. I've hydrated, so I've got hyperhydration. I've eaten the right food, so I have nutrition. I've moved, so I have movement. I've gone and exercised. I've done something, so I've got everything I need to be physiologically supported. I also have everything I need to be cognitively supported, because a big part of my morning routine is my momentum planner and going through the momentum planner using the momentum planning system. And then third, chemically, can we chemically boost ourselves in the morning so that we move forward faster, so that we are in momentum? Well, just the fact that I have a written morning routine where I use a pen to check off everything that I accomplish gives me dopamine. I get a dopamine hit every time I do this. My entire morning is flush with dopamine because I'm doing this, and it's not the false dopamine of using screens. In fact, in my morning routine, for the first about 2.5 hours of the day, I don't even look at a screen. So I would suggest you do the same thing. Now, the morning routine is in writing and checked off by hand. Remember, that is a dopamine factory. This will dramatically reduce decision-making fatigue. If you're getting up and navigating your morning like it's the first time every day, and you don't have a clear written routine, you will have decision-making fatigue. Here's what you have to understand. I've talked to a lot of people that say, "Oh, Alex, I have a morning routine." I was like, "Great, show it to me." Well, it's in my head, and I've been doing the same thing forever, and it's really efficient. I just do it the same way. Here's what I can tell you. That's what you think, but that's not what's really happening. Until you have something documented and you can follow the checklist and it's clear, you probably aren't doing things exactly the same way, and you're probably not as effective or as efficient as you can be. And by writing things down, here's what I know. Every morning that I get up, if I just focus on this list, I'm going to be successful. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to argue with it. I don't have to figure out what should come next. I don't have to figure out what I should be doing. I just focus on this list and I'm going to create massive success. And then the last thing about your morning routine, and this is big. People always ask me, when are you going to come out with an electronic version of the Momentum Planner? And the answer I give them is always the same. We're not. We're not. Something should not be turned into software. I know that's sacrilege to all the SaaS companies out there right now. And in the current entrepreneurial environment, it seems like everything is being turned into software, but I think something should not be turned into software. There is a massive, massive physiological, psychological, and chemical difference between writing and typing. I think when you get up in the morning, everything you do in your day planning should be written out so that you understand exactly what's going on and so that you've made the physiological connection to what you're doing. This is a written system, and it will remain a written system because I don't want you to even touch electronics when you're getting ready in the morning. Your morning routine should be an electronic-free zone. And then the last thing in your morning routine, make sure you're covering the 4 foundations. You're covering breathing, hydration, nutrition, and movement so that you've oxygenated, you have the right nutrition on board, you've moved, and you are breathing, hydration, nutrition, and movement, and you've eaten. And so make certain that you cover those big 4 in your morning routine. Now let's talk about the momentum planning system. So this is the Momentum Planner, and I want to give you a compare and contrast of what it's like compared to the other planners in the world. So other planners out there are calendar-centric. The entire planner is literally run around a calendar. We have calendars here now. We've engineered a planner that literally doesn't have a calendar in it. You add the date each day so you can pick up and use it from wherever you are. This is a non-calendar centric planner. The second part of most planners is that they are to-do list centric. And here's what I mean by to-do list centric. They revolve around your achievement list every day. And here's why that is so challenging for me. Unless we add other questions to the process, or unless we pull you out of a to-do list execution loop, here's what happens. To-do lists turn into to-die lists. And I know that may sound dramatic, but here's what I mean. How many of you, like so many entrepreneurs out there, including me, have been through the period of time in your life where you've got a ton of stuff going on, and you've got that to-do list, and each day you're carrying things forward, and you're carrying them forward, and you're carrying them to the next day, and you're moving to the next day, and you've done this so many times that there will be those items on your to-do list when you die. How many of you have felt that? How many of you does that make you laugh a little bit? Well, the reason is to-do list centric planners keep us in that to-do list loop without creating intention or offloading where we're uncomfortable, and it over time, it stops working for us. The next one is wasted or unused areas. You know, how many planners out there have things like I said earlier, you know, there's places for expenses, or there's weird call times, or there's weird boxes that you don't really even need to fill out. The way that I use something, the way I will use something is if when I open it up, I understand everything I'm doing with this thing. And in our planner, there's not that much to get you confused. There's only 7 boxes on the 2 front pages, and it's pretty easy to understand what to do with each one of them. And then in your weekly planning, there's only 4 boxes on those pages. I'll show you what to do with each one of them. The simplicity of this planner will move you forward with more momentum than you ever thought possible. The next one is other planners put you in an achievement loop. Here's what I mean by that. This happened to me specifically with the Franklin Day Planner. By the way, when I first started using the Franklin Day Planner, I loved it. I thought it was a revelation. I thought it changed everything because I hadn't really effectively used a to-do list prior to that. The issue with the Franklin Planner was that where they really focused was execution in the day and execution around that to-do list, and almost like an obsession around the to-do list on a daily basis. Making sure you know which one's which and what you need to do first, and you categorized it and you've delegated it. The to-do list really is kind of about 80 or 90% of the Franklin Day Planner system, the way they teach it. And the challenge with that is that it will put you into a daily achievement loop of really just doing your to-do list. Rarely in the Franklin Planner do you look up and say, where do I really want to go, and build a plan to get there. That makes it so that you're not really creating the progress that you want, and you can kind of get stuck where you are. That's what I found. I used the Franklin Day Planner for years. I finally gave it up because I felt like I was in a daily tactical achievement loop, and I wanted to get out of it and become more strategic. And then the last one for other planners, they really give you a ton of daily to-do awareness, but that's where awareness kind of wanes in those other planning systems. So let's look at the difference between the Momentum Planner. The Momentum Planner is it's not calendar centric. In fact, it doesn't include a calendar. It is intention centric. So every day you spell out the intention that you have for the day. I can't wait to show you this in a couple minutes. It's not to-do list centric. It actually is about offloading discomfort. This planner has a system for you to offload where you're uncomfortable. I can't wait to share it with you. Other planners have wasted or unused areas. Here's what happens to me. If I'm using something that consistently has a wasted or unused area, I finally just get tired of it and I stop using it. So even if it's just a small part of it, I can't take the fact that I'm not utilizing it the way it's supposed to be. The Momentum Planner is the opposite. You will use every inch of it the way that it's intended. In other planners, they put you into an achievement loop. The Momentum Planner is actually scientifically proven to create success and well-being. Here's what I mean by scientifically proven. One, we pressure tested this thing and the principles in it with Robert Cooper for over a year to make sure that it was the right way to look at forward achievement and forward planning. Two, it's scientifically proven because we've hypothesized that if people plan this way, they will experience way more momentum in their days and in their lives. And we've actually put the planner out there, had hundreds of our clients use it, and have had them come back to us and confirm the hypothesis that this scientifically absolutely helps them create more success, more well-being, and they feel better when they're using it. And then here's the last part. Most momenters, I just combined momentum and planner. Most planners provide daily to-do awareness. They really show you what you need to get done each day. What the Momentum Planner does is creates reticular activation to increase momentum. Here's what reticular activation means. I'm going to mention this several times. When I put together products or systems or strategies, when I look at process, structure, and routine, I don't just ask myself, what process, what structure, routine do we need here? I ask myself, what process, structure, and routine will trigger our inherent instincts or habits to create the success we want? Well, one of the instincts that we have as human beings is when we are made aware of something, we actually reticularly activate to it. So what reticular activation is, it's when our brain starts looking for something in our environment. Here's an easy example. When you go to buy a car, maybe some of you have had this experience lately. I don't know that a ton of people are buying cars right now, but let's just say you go to buy a car and you're excited about buying the car. You drive it off of the lot. You're driving home. And on the way home, unless you bought a Maserati or a Lamborghini or something truly unique, you start seeing that car everywhere. Here's what's funny. I actually did once buy a Maserati Quattroporte, and over the next few weeks, I couldn't believe how many Maseratis I saw that I wasn't seeing before, but I was in the car, so now I was seeing it. Same thing when somebody goes and buys a Honda or a Prius or a truck or whatever it is. On the way home, you start seeing a bunch of them. So that same instinct, that same condition that we have as human beings can be used to condition us to look for success. Not just look for a car, can actually condition us to look for what we're grateful for, where we're going to win during the day, how we're really going to move ahead. I'm excited to share this with you. So there's two ways to use the Momentum Planner. Today I'm going to cover the second way, but let me show you. The first way to use it is what we teach in our programs. We actually teach a process of going through a long-term outcome for your personal life, just like the client-centric mission that we talked about in the business. Then we talk about how to set your 1-year personal objectives, your 90-day targets, your 30-day goals, turn that into a personal strategic plan we call a waterfall. Then as you can see in the graphic, you take that waterfall and you go into weekly planning, you create your weekly commitments, and then you achieve those commitments on a daily basis by sitting down with your daily planning and solitude each day. Now, that's one way to use it. That's the more extended way. That's the way that we teach in our programs. Today, I'm going to go through the process that you would use to pick up the Momentum Planner and use it from here. You pick it up and you sit down and we start at the week. You do your weekly planning, you look at your weekly commitments, and then you do your daily planning in solitude. So you can actually get way more clarity than you would out of most programs by just using it as you go. We call the process on the right, it's like starting from a cold start. You just pick up the planner and go. Let me show you exactly how to do this. Today, I'm not going to be training the process on the left. That's in our platform, in our programs, if you want to know more about it. So let's talk about weekly planning. So the way to pick up the Momentum Planner and just start using it is to first start with our weekly planning process. See, when I look at how entrepreneurs plan, remember the sharpen process that I shared with you earlier? Analyze, prioritize, commit, execute, and renew. Well, let me share with you what I mean by each one of those. Analyze means let's look at everything that's going on and understand where you really are so that we lower the noise and we get clear on what your options are. Prioritize means let's look at everything you could do, then ask what you will do, and not just ask what am I going to do this week. Let's ask what could we do this week, brainstorm around it, and then look at what we will do. Then once we analyze and prioritize, we commit to execution. So when we commit, especially in this process, we're going to commit for 7 days. That means for 7 days, we're going to do everything we can to leave the plan the same, to not change anything, just work on execution so that we achieve and move forward. And then we execute. So once we've committed, we take that 7 days and we work on everything that we committed to for the week. Then when we're done with that, we renew, which means we take the results we have from this execution period and then we move them right back up to analyze and go through analyze, prioritize, commit, execute, renew again. So the weekly planning process is you go through your week. So let me show you where this is in the Momentum Planner. I think the next slide has pictures of how it works, of the actual slides, of the actual pages. So the way that it works in the Momentum Planning system is right here. So we have 2 string tabs, and the first tab goes to your weekly commitments, and this is my weekly commitments. This is my planning page. This is my commitment page. And then the second pull tab, or the second pull string, goes to your daily planning page in the Momentum Planner. So let's talk about how you would pick this up and go through your weekly review. So the first thing you do is you go through your week and you pull out all the highlights. Then you're going to extract the lessons from the week. Then you're going to understand where you created momentum during the week, like where was it that you moved things forward? And then here's a big one. You're going to identify where you need support and what you want to amplify during the week. What do you do more of? Let me show you the process where we accomplish all of this in, and I want you to see what I said, 15 to 45 minutes. When we talk to our members, most of them say they spend somewhere between 20 to 40 minutes on their weekly planning once a week. That's it, and it sets up your entire week for runaway success. It's worth it. Let me show you the process. So the weekly review sheet is right there on the right-hand side. This is also in your workbook if you want to pull it out and take a look. The first question we answer each week is we sit down and we say, what went right? What created momentum toward targets and goals? What moved us forward in the week? So the questions are, where did you create momentum? What can you increase or amplify? What did you move forward with or overcome? Where did you win during the week? When you're doing this, you should review your daily planning pages so that you have a clarity as to what you're sharing and what you're doing. I'm going to share some of mine with you. So this is from last week. Last week, we have a book project right now we're working with an outside firm on. We had a great meeting with them. It went really well. Last week, we discovered our profitability for the month before. We were wildly profitable. Another huge what went right, tons of momentum. I want to amplify the heck out of that. We did our monthly planning as a team. That went really well. We're going to execute our new waterfall like crazy. I had a call with our Grow and Scale members, the highest level members that we have. I love that membership. They validate me. I love hanging out with them. They're just amazing. And then on Friday of last week, Garrett, a good friend of mine, Garrett Salpeter, who I mentioned earlier, actually came over to our house and hung out with him and his family. So when I write down what went right, I'm trying to write down as many things as I can that make me happy about last week. Here's why. As we do this, we are telling our brain what we want to have happen this week. This is how incredible this system is. By sitting down and saying what went right this week, we get clarity around what we want to see again. If you do this week after week, you are engaging that reticular activation system to constantly be looking for what went right and what created success in your week. This is exciting. You review and again, as you fill this out, you're going through your week, you're understanding what happened. Now, the second part of weekly planning, and I want you to see, this is painfully simple for a reason. Our planning processes and our execution processes are simple because the projects we plan and the execution we engage with in the real world is not. This part should be simple. This part should be minimum effective dose, easy to do. So the second question that you ask in your momentum planner is, where do I need support to move forward? Whether you work on your own or you work with a team, you write down everything that makes you feel like you need support to move forward. Where did you feel constraint? Slowed you down? That should have been slowed you down. What slowed you down? Where did you lose momentum? What's in your way? Where did you need help? And again, review your daily planning pages so you know all the different places that you needed help, support to move forward. So for me, last week I put down, I'm having some trouble with my daughters and screens, also having some trouble with them getting done on homework for homeschool. I put personal and business down here, by the way. Where I need some other support to move forward, we were having some weird stuff happening with testimonials on our web pages. I wanted to make sure we don't use anonymous testimonials, that we use actual testimonials. Had some overwhelm in my calendar. I talked to my personal assistant about it. I didn't work out enough the week prior, so I want to make sure that I do this week. I write down everywhere that I'm not satisfied with the week. Everywhere I feel like I need support. Everywhere that something should have happened that didn't happen. I'm giving myself as big of a list as I can so that I understand what's going on in my life and I understand what modifications or behavioral changes I need to make. So simply, you sit down. The first part of every weekend is every weekend planning session is what went right and where do I need support to move forward. Here's what's awesome, by the way, just to give you a little insight into how our system works. In our company, when we're managing a team, every person on the team submits a weekly report. You know what questions they answer in that weekly report? What went right and where do I need support to move forward? So our personal planning system actually interlocks with our company management systems and the Sharpen cadence. It's like everything we do is kind of like software where every piece works with another. When somebody says, hey, I want to change this a little bit, we always say, whoa, time out. Everything works together and it's very clear if it works together, up to and including if you give this planner to your team, when they go through their weekly planning, they're actually completing their weekly report for you. So the system really is efficient, effective, and it gives you all the leverage that we possibly can. We want to do minimum effective dose, don't spend that much time, but maximum value creation, maximum effect in the business. So this is simply your weekly review. It's 2 steps. What went right and where do I need support to move forward? Once you've completed that, you move forward. But here's what I want you to see is that 52 times a year, you ask yourself, what went right? That tells you where you create momentum. Where do I need support? Tells you where you can get protection and support and help. What went right? Create momentum. Where do I need support? Get help. Just think to yourself, what would your world and your life look at after a year of doing this? You know exactly what I'm talking about. How much different would your life look if you sat down and you didn't make massive changes, you didn't change everything, you didn't have to have one of these big entrepreneurial, statement changes where we try to move everything at once? How much different would your life look if you just had this process in your life? And Khalid, yes, you can purchase a planner. I'll give you some information on that in just a minute. Let's see here. Sherilyn says screens and kids. When you figure it out, tell me. Okay, make sure you're getting your questions in. I'm going to make sure I answer all of them. Eddie, I don't know if we can use that or if we're going to have to edit around it, but I'll jump back over here. So, as you think about what your life would look like, if you only sat down one day and you kept it this simple, one day a week. I do this Sunday morning. I sit down and I ask myself, what went right? And I go in detail through every page of my planner. I look at my calendar on my computer, even though it makes me uncomfortable and I don't love it. I think through and I meditate a little bit about what was happening that week. All of that takes me about 5 to 10 minutes. Then I ask myself where I need support. And as I'm doing that same review of the calendar, I'm asking myself, what made me uncomfortable? What did I not like? Where did I lose momentum? Where did I feel confused or like there was ambiguity? And so I am constantly asking myself, what went right? I create momentum. Where do I need support? I get help. This is a game changer for entrepreneurs. Now, the next step is your weekly commitments. And if you have the worksheets that we gave you in front of you, you'll see that the weekly commitments is a 2-column sheet with space on both sides. The left side of the column is to brainstorm. The right side is to commit, but let me take you through the process. So in your weekly commitments, the first thing you do is you brainstorm what you could do instead of determining what you will or should do. Right there, game over. Here's what most entrepreneurs do. Think about this. Think about if you do this. Just got a question. Where's the affiliate program? Ask yourself if you do this. When you think to yourself, oh, I've got so much going on, don't you just sit down and make a to-do list? That's what most entrepreneurs do. We don't brainstorm. We don't clarify. We don't analyze. Excuse me. Give me one sec. Sorry about that. A lot of talking over the last few days. As entrepreneurs, when we have a lot going on, we sit down and we just write out a to-do list. We don't analyze what we could do. We don't prioritize what we will do, then commit to it. We usually just write out a list. That is incredibly ineffective because what you're doing is a brain dump. That's not a prioritized list. That's going to overwhelm you and make things even harder. So brainstorm what you could do instead of just determining what you will do. In your weekly commitments, use your business waterfall, your strategic plan. If you have a personal waterfall or strategic plan, you pull down things to create your weekly commitments. If you're not using either of these and you're picking up the momentum planner and going, ask yourself what you have going on that week. Then, once you've filled in the left-hand side of the sheet with the list of all the things you could do, you stack rank and prioritize. Here's what that means. You number all of the things in your priorities list from 1 to the least important, so you know what's most important, and then you commit to productivity and momentum to move towards your goals by taking only those items that you commit to during the week and moving them over to the right-hand side of the page. Let's take a look at the sheet and go through it in detail. So the first step of weekly commitments is, what could I do this week to move towards my goals? It's right here on the left-hand side of the sheet, and here's what we're going to do. You brainstorm, you write everything, no judgment. Make this list as big as it needs to be. Put as much as you need to put down there. Commit to productivity and momentum to move towards your goals. If needed, move, go for a walk, get clear, go get some water. Separate the brainstorming from commitments. Here's what people try and do. They try and brainstorm what they're going to do and make the commitment list all at the same time. So the first thing you do is you just fill this in with what you could do. The only question is, what could you do? The first time you do this, it might take a little bit. The first time you do this, it might take a minute, 2 or 3 weeks, to actually switch your brain from saying, what am I going to do, to what could I do? I mean, let me give you some insight into just what I'm talking about. For most entrepreneurs, when they say, what should I do this week? Their brain says, they say, oh, I should launch a web page. You don't have time. Oh, I should get a meeting with this person. You don't know who he is. I should move my business forward this way. Well, you don't know how to do that. We need to turn off the judgment when we're going through weekly commitments and asking, what could you do? Because this is where we need to put possibility. This is where we need to put ideas. This is where we need to put literally what we could do, and do not edit as you're filling out what you could do. That's what most entrepreneurs do, and it slows them down. See, once you have this list, now we take a minute and we stack rank and prioritize, which means we look at the list of what you could do. We number 1 to the least important. So you can start either way. Stack ranking means making sure everything on that list has a number and a priority. So some people like to figure out what is least important and then work up from the bottom. So they count up that they have 12, they mark 112, and then they go 11, 10, 9, 8 until they get to the most important one. Other people like to read the list. They immediately identify what's most important. They start from 1 and go down from there. Once you've done that, then you look at this new prioritize list. We've analyzed, now we've prioritized, now we commit by taking only the items we're actually going to achieve during the week, the commitments we're making to ourselves, and then eventually will be made to our team, and we move those over to the right-hand side. We refill them in on the right-hand side, and now we have our actual week's commitments. This is a game-changing process. I get goosebumps when I share this, but it's so lame for the audience because they're like, he's just talking about weekly commitments. But here's what I know about this process. The reason that I have physical reactions is I know what a massive game changer it is for an entrepreneur when you start using a process like this. Because look at all the stuff that happens. 1, you've allowed your brain to brainstorm. You've dumped out what you could do. You've gotten all your ideas out. You've put stuff down on paper. Then, 2, you've now prioritized. You've done some critical thinking, some hardcore analysis and prioritization of what should come first and what's most important right now. Most entrepreneurs never had that hardcore prioritization. Then, you've moved over your commitments so that you know what you're actually committed to this week. It's in a clear, executable list, hopefully stack ranked in order. And here's what's crazy. If you finish all of those things during the week, you can come right back to this sheet, look at the next priority that you didn't move over, and you can still be productive without having to go into another analyze and prioritize period. You have it here. This is game changing. The next week when you start your weekly commitments, you go right back to this page. Anything you didn't finish goes on to the next weekly commitments. Anything you didn't commit to that is still relevant goes into the next could do process so that we can analyze and prioritize and commit again. When you go through a process like this for your day, you will quickly find, not for your day, for your week, you will quickly find yourself achieving more in the week, getting more of the right things done in a faster period of time. And by sitting down and going through this and moving over your commitments, you're going to create restless agitation and excitement about how much you're going to get done that week. This planner changes everything for people like you and I. Now, that is the weekly planning. Like I said, it's about 15 to 45 minutes. For most people, it dramatically reduces in time once they've been doing it for a while. And then it takes us to daily planning and solitude. This is a huge part of my morning routine. Even though momentum planning is only one line, it's actually probably the most important part of my morning routine and where I put the most mental effort. Because remember, in the rest of my morning routine has almost zero mental effort. Everything else is checklist easy. This is the place where I stop, and this is where I do make decisions. But here's what's so magical about it. Because I have this clear morning routine that I've built custom for myself that is making the first hour of my day the best hour of my day, and sometimes I get more done in the first couple hours I'm up than most people will get done all day, it makes it so that I am in massive momentum. And because this is spelled out, when I finally sit down to do my planning in solitude, my brain has not made a lot of decisions. I don't have decision-making fatigue. I'm not overwhelmed by the day. I've gotten a ton of stuff done. I am chemically, cognitively, and physiologically supported to make the best decisions. Then I plan. The morning routine and the momentum planner go hand in hand to create a 1-2 punch that will put you into momentum every single day, fully support you as an entrepreneur, and help you move forward like crazy. Let's take a look at daily planning in solitude. So each day, I sit down with my momentum planner and check out. I'm going to use one of these little custom strings here to go from weekly to now daily. And this is my daily planning from today. My to-do list is extraordinarily short today because I'm doing this 7-day launch or I'm doing this 3-day launch, and this is taking the majority of my time today. I'm actually just checking off what I already did this morning. And so let's talk about daily planning in solitude. Daily planning in solitude creates your daily focus and priorities. This will create intention around what you want to have happen. Now, notice I did not say a to-do list. I said this is going to create intention around what you actually want out of the day. There's a big difference between something you want to do and what you want out of that thing. Let me show you how huge this is. I'll talk about Wayne Dyer in a second. This will allow you to offload where you're uncomfortable. This is big. Oh, I can't wait to share the offload with you when you're uncomfortable. And then also maximize the daily alignment with the people around you. Let's jump in. So our daily planning page is simple. Tell me this is not the simplest daily planning page you've seen in a planner so far. There's basically 4 different squares, and here's how we use them. We sit down and first we answer, see the number 1 square? What is my intention for the day? I'll tell you exactly how I go through this planner. Each morning I get up and I copy my schedule into my to-do list. Each one of the items on my schedule is something I'm going to have to do. So for me, a schedule should really be in a to-do list so I can follow along with all the things on my schedule and then all the items I intend to get done. After I've copied my schedule into my to-do list, I write down my intention for the day. And the intention is what I want out of the day. So I'll share my intention for today. Share promotional day 2 in a way that gets people to take action. That's you. I want you to take action. Have fun and help people get into momentum and make today unforgettable for them. That was my intention for today. My intention is to show up as best as I can for you. And here's what happens, I believe, in humanity, with humans, for all of us. A lot of people talk about manifestation these days. They talk about manifesting and thinking real hard about something. Here's how I have always manifested. I take my pen, I write down exactly what I want on a sheet of paper, and that stuff shows up. I have members in our programs. We've been using this for about 3 years with our members and our team. And we've actually had members that come to us and say, at first I didn't really understand that intention thing. I thought it was kind of like the to-do list. But now that I've started writing down what I want out of each item on my to-do list or my calendar, those things just magically happen. See, for me, this is not just a reticular activation system. This is one of the most advanced entrepreneurial manifestation processes that there is. Because we're being intentional throughout. We're clarifying why we want things. We're going through the process of analyzing, prioritizing, committing, executing, and renewing so that we know we're in a framework where we're taking care of ourselves, this is going to change your life. See, when you look at your intention for the day, review your calendar and write what you want from each item you have planned. Look at your to-do list. It's what you're doing. Your intention is why you're doing it. So when I look at yesterday, this is what I said for this, well, actually, it's way too similar to the day before. This was from Monday. On Monday, I had our planning meetings. I had planning with my wife, and we had some operational meetings. So, and then I did an Ask Me Anything for Facebook. So here's what I said about everything on my to-do list for Monday. Stay present and aware in our company meetings so that we set up a successful launch week that excites everybody. Align with Katie around our personal quarters so that we can move forward with momentum. Have a productive operational meeting so that everyone in the company knows what we're doing. Have fun on the Facebook Ask Me Anything and help people create momentum, and then re-record the foundation video to give us the best chance at success. I think there was a to-do list item for me to re-record a video. So regardless of what I'm doing, I'm writing in advance the outcome that I want. Like I said, this is advanced, like this is next level manifestation. So your to-do list is why you're doing it. Your to-do list is what you're doing. Your intention is why you're doing it. And then you overtly state exactly what you want in everything that you're doing for the day. That's just what's my intention for the day. Let's go to the next section. So I have this quote that I share with entrepreneurs. If you don't have a system to offload where you're uncomfortable, you are tolerating too much. By the way, how many of you feel like you're tolerating too much? How many of you feel like you're tolerating how many of you feel like you're tolerating too much in your lives? You're tolerating too much with what you're putting out there. You're just putting up with too much. Every entrepreneur I work with is in this situation. They are tolerating way too much. So let's talk about how we go through the to-do list, and then where I was uncomfortable yesterday is going to be game changing for you. So first, for the to-do list, I told you before, I copy over my calendar. Each one of those is a check mark. By the way, one of the reasons that I copy them over is so that I can go as each meeting concludes and add a check mark next to it, and then I get that dopamine hit again. I want physical check marks. I want to be able to put a whole bunch of them in here. It makes me feel productive. It also gets me focused on this rather than this, because the phones today, especially social media, are like false dopamine generators. If you're looking at Facebook or Instagram, you go on this low drip of dopamine for all of the different stuff that they've programmed into it. It's like a video poker game. When you go and you create a check mark list where you're actually writing, you get a much larger dose of dopamine, and it's going to stick with you longer. Then you copy over my calendar. Then I write down what else do I have to get done today? And here's something I want you to always be cautious of. Don't ever let your to-do list become a to-die list. If you've carried something over a whole bunch of times, stop and ask yourself, am I really going to do this? Do I want to do this? Should I delegate it? Is it something I'm pretending I want to do? Why does it keep getting carried over? Do not allow that to become your to-do list. Now, the third step, you see 1, 2, 3 you see this is the second step. Where was I uncomfortable yesterday? Is right below the intention. It's below the top 3. And here's what we do with where I was uncomfortable yesterday. I want you to sit down and take the time to recognize where were you uncomfortable the day before. Recognize your discomfort. Here's what I know about us as entrepreneurial personality types. Because we are EPTs, because we're evolutionary hunters, we are almost predispositioned to deny discomfort as soon as we feel it. How many of you know you do that? As soon as you're uncomfortable, you pretend like you're not. As soon as you're uncomfortable, you're trying to move past it and deny that it was there. Well, here's what I want you to know. Take the time to sit down and write it down. Write down everything. Nothing's too big or too small. What made you uncomfortable the day before? What I wrote down this morning was the girls were fighting last night. I had a lack of clarity in one of the meetings that I was in, and I felt like I needed a little more help with the promotion. So I write down where I was uncomfortable the day before, because I know that as an entrepreneur, I will deny it and I will never fix it because I move past it until it comes and it happens again. Write down everything, especially if you don't know how to fix or change it. If you don't know how to correct things, if you don't know how to move things forward in your life, make sure you write it down, because if you write it down 3 or 4 days in a row, here's what my members tell me: you will figure out a way to change it. You will figure out a way to adjust, to change, to shift, so that that thing's not making you uncomfortable anymore. It works because there's intention behind it. And then the last step is your top 3. See on the left-hand column in the middle right there? This is, again, hardcore prioritization. Remember the sharpen process? Analyze, prioritize, commit, execute, renew. I hope you've memorized that by the time we're done. Because anytime you're faced with something, you should ask yourself, am I analyzing, prioritizing, committing, executing, renew? Do I have a system to do this? See, the top 3 is, once you've filled out your intention and your to-do list and clarified where you're uncomfortable, you can pull from anywhere on the page to what are the top 3 things you need to do that day. This is hardcore prioritization. This is also a Rockefeller habit. James D. Rockefeller was known as being incredibly productive over and over and over again throughout his career. And he used a system where every day he wrote down the top 3 things he was going to do, and he didn't stop that day until he got those 3 things done. I'm not that hardcore. Most days I get all 3 done. I would say 90% of days I do. Sometimes I get 2 out of 3. Rarely do I get 1 out of 3 unless something went really wrong. But here's what I know. Every day, I know what my focus should be until those top 3 things are done. Then I can go look at other things. When you ask yourself the top 3, what's important and what will give you the most momentum? What should you pull into that top 3 position so that it gets your focus, your energy, your attention that day? That is your daily planning. And then now there's the other page. You have this page, and then you have this other page where we have daily records for notes, and then we have where did I win, and what am I grateful for, and where did I win? Let me go through these one section at a time. So the notes page is anything you want to put in your planner. So for me, this morning I wrote some notes on a video I'm going to do later. I'm going to do a video on Facebook in one of our groups. Yesterday, I didn't really write anything on the notes because I was with all of you. The day before, I wrote some notes on 2 or 3 podcasts that I want to do. For me, a lot of the notes are podcasts, or a lot of the notes are notes on something that I want to share. There's some notes here from a presentation that I did in front of a group. I wrote them down right there. I actually came home, copied some of them into another presentation. So the daily records page is basically whatever comes up that day: phone numbers, commitments, notes on something that you need to transfer somewhere else. It's right there so that the planner is effective for you, since you're going to have it with you all the time. Fill in the notes there, and then there's that's your daily execution. So all day you're carrying it around, you're checking things off, you're making sure you've done everything, you've achieved your top 3, and then at the end of the day, you close the day. And this takes somewhere between 5 to 20 minutes. You know, for me, it might take a little bit less. Here's what we do. On the daily records page, there are 2 questions we ask, and there's a reason we scientifically ask, or there's a scientific reason we ask these questions. We don't scientifically ask them. We ask scientific questions, there's a scientific reason we ask them, because we want to reticularly activate to 2 things: gratitude in our lives, which increases how we feel about things. It increases the momentum we feel. It increases how we feel as human beings, how much better we feel as human beings. And then the second thing we want to know is, where did we win today, so that we win more often. Remember, reticular activation, we're going to kick this thing into high gear, bring it into your life, things you are grateful for and places that you can win. Who wouldn't want more than that? So on the left-hand side of the bottom, while you're closing the day, you write down everything that you're grateful for, because gratitude improves health, relationships, empathy, sleep, self-esteem, and more. It actually resolves triggers, reactivity, and aggression. So each day as you close the day, you write down the 3 things that you're grateful for. So last night I wrote down that I'm grateful for Katie, Kennedy, and Reagan, my wife and kids. Eddie's help. Eddie's right over there, so he was helping all day yesterday, so I wrote down Eddie. I wrote down Anna Selby on our team, who's our new marketing person, who's helped a ton to get this promotion together. And then I'm grateful that Katie's focused on marketing. My wife focuses on marketing. I'm not doing it anymore. We've got a lot more done that way. And so each day I write down what I'm grateful for. Again, kicking the reticular activation system, the alignment system, into full gear. The second part of the closing the day is, where did I win today? What I'm writing down is, where did I feel momentum? What went my way? What felt good? What do I want more of? What do I want to attract more of in my life? So yesterday I wrote down, my girls got 100% on their homeschooling. So every day I work with my kids on homeschooling. They're now in a bunch of different classes. They got everything they needed to do done yesterday. That's a huge win for them, but it's also a win for me. I had a great call with Shane Saunders, who's my breathing coach. I did a podcast with 2 brothers named Luis that was a ton of fun. And then I had our operational TI. That was from the day before. Actually, this is from yesterday. So yesterday, I was grateful that the launch went well, that we went hiking in the morning. I was grateful for my wife and kids. Almost every day I write them down because because it feels weird not to. And then where I won yesterday was the launch. The 2 sessions that I spent with all of you yesterday was so much fun. The feedback that I got from everybody, the podcast that I did with George Bryant that tons of people have been giving us podcasts on, and I went swimming with my kids at the end of the day, that was a winning day. So not only do we manifest in advance what we want, we recognize at the end of the day that it was there through either gratitude or wins. This will put you in a reticular activation loop that is absolutely life-changing. So if you're ready to understand, wait, I'm going to close it here. So Eddie, there's probably an edit there.
You're fine. That's on you.
This will put you into an achievement loop that will change everything for you. See, when you go through the process of spelling out your intention for the day, acknowledging where you were uncomfortable, creating your to-do list, identifying your top 3, and then closing the day by verifying where you won and what you are grateful for, as an entrepreneur, you will achieve a new level of momentum you may not have thought possible. This is our momentum planning system. I'm looking forward to hearing how it works for you. All right, we're out of the recording, and so now I'm open to answer questions. I think we already have one over here in the question and Q&A period, or the Q&A area over here. But I also want to we've had a ton of questions about the Momentum Planner and about morning routine. So I'd like to share with you an opportunity here. If you are looking to go to the next level, here's what we have for you. A lot of
You should have access. Give me 1 second, Alex. All right.
Are we back?
We're back.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that, everybody. It, like always happens right when you're about to talk about the most important part. So here's what we prepared for everybody. We have a couple opportunities. So first, if you go to sharfen.com/offer, can they see the slide, Eddie?
Yes, they can.
Okay. Cool. So if you go to sharfen.com/offer, you will be able to pick up my morning routine. And this is not just a written copy of my morning routine. It's actually the morning routine with a full training module on how to build a custom routine for you. You know, looking at mine is going to be inspirational, but getting yours really dialed in over the course of the next 6 days is going to change everything in your life. Here's how my hallucination. By next Thursday, because today's Wednesday, by next Thursday, after a week of using your new morning routine, you will be infinitely more productive, feel fully supported and in momentum, and ready to take on the day on a daily basis. Now, those of you who choose to go through the morning routine process, there's also an offer to pick up not only your copy of the Momentum Planner, but a full Momentum Planner training. I saw somebody, as I looked over, as I was speaking, somebody said, are we going to have access to these videos? Unfortunately, you won't have access to these videos moving forward. At the end of the day today, we pull them down and they go into our platform. This is normally stuff that's behind the paywall for our company, but if you want access to morning routine training with all the details that I went through here and even more tactical details on how to do this every day in simple to use, easy to use modules, go to sharfen.com/offer, pick up the morning routine, and you will have an opportunity to add to it the Momentum Planner so that you have the morning routine is going to give you your best hour of the day, your first hour of the day, and the Momentum Planner that's going to change everything in your life. We can't wait to send it to you. I can't wait to hear what you think. With that, I'd love to open it up for questions.
Awesome. You got it pulled up, Alex?
I do. Give me 1 second here. All right. Are you putting them all in there, Eddie?
Yep. So starting with, the one at the very top. Do you see it?
I see a bunch with check marks.
Oh, hang on 1 second. It's just on the right screen. Right there. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, awesome. All right. I'm going to start answering questions. I'm going to answer the questions kind of out of order, Greg. Or Greg or Eddie, who's ever listening to me answer, can you check the ones that I answer? Because I want to make sure some of these are really specific. I'm going to leave those towards the end so that we can keep as many people here as possible. So let's see here. This question is, how do I plan my day, week, and month without feeling overwhelmed by the number of things to get done, including time with my kids and spouse? I use our momentum planning system. I can tell you that was probably one of the biggest issues in my entire life prior to building this system about 5 or 6 years ago. The motivation for building this system was actually a pretty embarrassing event. I was with a consultant of mine. I shared this yesterday. I'm sorry to repeat the story, but I was with a consultant named Kirk Dando. I was up in Colorado in a hotel meeting with him. Katie was in the room upstairs. We were sitting there talking, and we were kind of going through kind of a difficult conversation about where my company was going and what I wanted to do. And out of the blue, like in the middle of the conversation, he said, Alex, let's stop. Let's just stop for a second. What's the most important thing in your life? And I said, well, that's easy, Kirk. It's my wife and kids. No question. He goes, okay, let's get out your calendar and your checkbook and let's see if you've been spending the time and money with your wife and kids like you have everything else, because I don't know that you are. He knew just based on the conversations we were having. And instantly my face was hot. I was uncomfortable. I didn't want to be in the conversation because I knew that if we looked at my calendar and my checkbook, it was not going to show time or money spent with my wife and kids. And that motivated me to change what I was doing. It motivated me to look at the structure and the process in my life. It motivated me to build the momentum planner so I could get clear on my weeks, get clear on my days, and then have the time that I needed for them. And also, when you use it with our full forward planning system, which if you go to sharfen.com/offer and you pick up the morning routine, you can see the offer we have for the momentum planner. We're actually including the full forward planning system that is in our program and typically only reserved for our members. All right, here, let's see. The next one is, how can I keep consistent with the habit of planning? I'm gonna give you a lot of the same answers. I think one of the biggest problems with consistency with planning is that the systems that we use are confusing, overwhelming, ambiguous, or way too heavy. Don't blame yourself if you haven't been consistent with planning, because planning is really hard for the entrepreneurial personality type. Okay, is everybody ready for this revelation here? This is a big one. We have trouble with planning for the following reason. We are evolutionary hunters. Our entire world is about being on the hunt and pursuing something, pursuing a prey that we eventually attack and kill, right? In the modern day, it's no longer about hunting prey. It's now about creating an objective and going after that objective and making it happen. Well, when we enter a planning process, we are in fact admitting we do not have an objective until we're done planning. So here's what I've observed for over 20 years with myself and the entrepreneurs I've worked with. The higher the talent level, the more prevalent this is. We get uncomfortable planning. How many of you are with me? If I was in person, I would say, can I get an amen? Because we're all uncomfortable planning. Here's why I think that is. Inherent in making a plan, we are stating we don't have a current plan, and that ambiguity makes us uncomfortable because we are the entrepreneurial personality type. We are evolutionary hunters. We've been programmed for thousands of years to go out, find something to chase, make it happen, and get through it. And when we have to back down and plan, that can create some ambiguity and some agitation. That's why you saw in our system, it's only 15 to 45 minutes. So if you're going to experience discomfort, it's for a short period of time, and that short period of discomfort creates massive momentum. So eventually, you're going to look forward to planning. Let me know if that makes sense on how to keep consistent with the habit of planning. Let's see here. The next question is, I know I need a morning routine. I can use a tablet loose leaf binder, but I'm a professional. Sorry, I don't understand the question here. I think you're asking if you can buy the Momentum Planner. The Momentum Planner is definitely available in the funnel that I sent you to. Go to sharfen.com/offer. Once you get past the morning routine page and you pick that up, you'll have an opportunity to buy the Momentum Planner. And the next question is, as someone in the seeker stage, I have a full-time job as well as working on my business. How should I best incorporate the planning? Oh, this is going to be so good for you. So included with the offer we have on the Momentum Planner is our forward planning structure, which is where we go through that same long-term planning. Remember the Hall of Fame, Super Bowl, the season of games, the month, the week that we go through. I want you to have that for your personal life. So the way to do this, if you're in a seeker stage and you have a job and you're moving towards having a business, let's spell that out and get you clear on where you're going so that you know every week you're getting there. Here's the problem with the seeker stage and having a job. You can be in that seeker stage and having a job for 10 years without making progress. But people who use our Momentum Planner do it like that. In fact, I taught this as part of a system that we had for our members probably about 2 years ago. And we let some people who weren't in our membership into the training. And one of them was someone who had been trying to get out of their job and write a book and become an information products person. And they've been trying for about 5 years. They got into our course. I think it was a 10-week course. And we went through forward-looking planning in the beginning. We showed them the structure and the personal congruency modules that you're going to have access to if you buy the Momentum Planner. And within, it was either the 5th or 6th week of being in the program, they had launched their product. And 2 weeks after being in the program, so about 3 months total, they were out of their job. When you have a system that makes you feel confident in where you're going, everything in your world will change. The next question is, do you have a specific day and time you do your weekly review? I do. I actually do it Sunday morning, but there's a lot of detail as to why I do it Sunday morning. See, in our company, every Friday, the general team, the non-leadership team in our company has a weekly report due by 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They give us a weekly report that has their metrics, what they accomplished that, or the measurements for that week, whether it was metrics or milestones. And then they also have what went right and where do I need support to move forward. Then on Saturday, somewhere between Friday and Saturday, my leadership team reviews those weekly reports and they submit their own weekly reports exactly the same. By the way, weekly reports are submitted to everybody in the company. Everyone has access to each other's, 100% transparency. Everything's clear. And then I read the team's weekly reports, the people who I need to read. I read 100% of the leadership weekly reports. Then I create my weekly report. I do my momentum planning, and then I turn in my weekly report to my team. I take my momentum planning, and I'm ready to take on the week. Tim Moffitt says, Alex, what's your take on Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning for the morning routine? Very popular program, has books specifically for entrepreneurs, real estate agents, etc. You know, I love Hal. It's just not tactical enough for me. And it's not step by step enough for me, and it's not detailed enough. I love the Miracle Morning where I think you read and you work out and you do something else. I know Hal. Chip Franks, who runs Hal's company, is a good friend of mine. I'm way more tactical. I need step by step. I need guardrails to keep me going. I am a off the charts visionary. And if I don't have something this clear, I get lost in it. And so I have read 20 minutes in my morning routine. I have meditate, go for a walk, do a bunch of exercise. So I'm covering all the bases of the Miracle Morning. But what I'm really looking for, I'm looking for first hour, best hour. I'm fully supported. I'm looking for breathing, hydration, nutrition, and movement are all taken care of. Mine's more scientific. Mine's a lot more momentum based rather than miracle based, maybe. But I love Hal's stuff, and I love Hal as an individual. He's one of the most motivating human beings on the planet. The way he recovered from cancer was incredible. In fact, a couple years ago, I spoke at an event for Hal because he had just been diagnosed with cancer. So totally stoked to find out that that's moving on. Sherilyn Colby says, how do you keep from trying to take on too much? Sherilyn, thanks for asking the question. Here's what you do. You analyze first. Then you prioritize, then you commit to what you're doing, you open a commitment period, then you execute and you open an execution period. So let's take it in actual detail. You analyze everything you could do for the week. Ask what you could do, then you prioritize what you will do, then you move over what you will do to commit, then you execute for the entire week without changing anything, then you understand what you're capable of, you start to build perspective, then you renew by looking at what did you achieve, what didn't you achieve, you go right back into analysis. When you build a system like this, when you use a framework like this, you get a lot more clear on what you actually can do, and you start committing to what will make you feel confident and move you forward. Great question, Sherilyn. Lars Folkman says, is the personal waterfall included in the planner? The process for developing the personal waterfall is included in the planning system that we're selling in the promotion. If you want to go check that out, the personal waterfall process is actually it is included with the planner. It's part of the process that carries into the planner. But because it's a once a month process, we have you print those documents, complete them, and then use the planner to execute your personal waterfall. So it's not written into the planner. It's a sister program for the planner itself. So yes, if you get the promotion, you do get all of the personal waterfall information, Lars. I can't wait for you to check it out. Namita says, where can we get the recordings of this event? I would love having you play in the background while doing this process. So Namita, these are going to be available to our members. They're going to be available in some parts of our platform. Are we okay?
Yeah, so okay. They're actually going to be available if they buy the Momentum Planner.
They're available if you buy the Momentum Planner. These are going to be in the platform on the back end. But here's why we're not just giving them away for free. This is normally content that is only reserved for our paying members. And we are a fully congruent company. I don't like to have one person paying for something and somebody else getting it for free. We decided that for the purposes of this promotion only, I would do a live broadcast. We'd leave it up to the end of the day, then pull it down. But anybody who purchases the planner will get all of the presentations from this entire promotion, including the 2 that I'm doing tomorrow. Susan Parker says, how do you handle failure in your daily momentum planner? Do you view it as a step to success? Susan, I don't ever see anything that happens in my planner as a failure. There's things that don't get done, but that's just a way for me to adjust to the next day and get them done better. Sometimes in the week, there's things that I committed to that don't happen, but that just gives me perspective about how to improve the next week. I don't really look at it as failure. I look at it as a perspective building activity that tells me whether I'm actually achieving or not, and I just move forward with perspective. Honestly, the word failure doesn't enter my world that often. I don't really think of things as failure. I think it's things as lessons. Like you kind of said, you view it as a step to success. Anytime I don't get what I want out of something, to me, it's a lesson that's getting me closer to what I do want. Emily Evans Consultant says, does the planner training include a training about the waterfall? It does. It includes the full waterfall training, normally reserved for our higher level members. But if you buy the Momentum Planner, we are including it for this promotion. Tim Moffitt says, do you put your appointments that are time specific anywhere in the planner, or do you use your iPhone calendar for them, or they're in both places? Here's what I do, Tim. I use my iPhone calendar or my computer calendar for all of my appointments. Here's why. I don't do my calendar. I hate calendars. Honestly, calendars are one of the most frustrating things in the world for me. There's very few things, and I'm not exaggerating this, everyone on my team knows this. There's very few things that are as overwhelming for me as a calendar. When I open a calendar, I literally get body reactions and heart palpitations. I've done EMDR therapy over this. I've had so many therapy sessions around calendars and planning. It's one of the things that makes me crazy, over the top, uncomfortable, which is funny because today we teach people how to achieve more, plan, process, routine, but calendars make me uncomfortable. So here's what I do, Tim. Every morning, and I mentioned this, but I'll re-mention it. Every morning I get up and anything that's in my computer calendar, I recopy it here. Here's why. 2 reasons. 1, I forget the calendar the second I look at it. When I hand write 9 o'clock leadership huddle, 9:27 my daily huddle, I write that 200 plus times a year because every day that's the exact same schedule. I write those 2 things over every single day. Then today I wrote 10 a.m. 7-day launch, 2 p.m. 7-day launch, 6 p.m. I have a breathing session with my breathwork coach. Those are the things I have to do today. So far I've checked off 9 a.m., 9:27, 10 a.m., and 2 p.m. because I started this broadcast. And so I like to put my schedule there because I'm putting a check mark next to it. I'm getting another dopamine hit. I don't like to get my dopamine from here. I like to get my dopamine from paper and pen. I hope that's not too long of an answer, Tim. I tend to approach these things on a lot more scientific and analytical level than most coaches ever think about. Let's see. Namita says, how do you overcome conflicting decision-making when choosing your value ladder or offers? Namita, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a question that's out of the context of what we're doing. And I don't understand the conflict you're experiencing. If you're looking at choosing your value ladder or offers and you have conflicting experience, you should probably talk to more of your avatar. That's my first instinct to tell you. Go download my podcast called Own Your Avatar and go do avatar interviews. That will clarify your avatar or your value ladder for you. I don't know of a better way to do it. Majo Zamundo, I hope I'm saying your name right, man. Majo Zamundo says, has it happened to you that you feel investing time in exercises or anything other than work makes you feel uncomfortable and you feel unproductive? Sure, that's a common entrepreneurial issue. When we invest time in ourselves, it makes us feel uncomfortable and unproductive. When we invest time in something outside of work, it makes us feel uncomfortable and unproductive. We have to get over that. We have to get over that. That's usually an earlier entrepreneur issue because after you've been an entrepreneur for a while, you realize that if you're not eating and hydrating and exercising and breathing, you are going to make everything in your world harder. So yes, there was a time where when I went to exercise or when I would take a walk or when I would take time for myself, I would feel guilty and frustrated and like I wasn't doing the right things. Like I was actually doing the wrong thing. Like let's like bottom line this. I felt like I was doing the wrong thing by taking care of myself. But now I know that going on the walk or working out or drinking the water or making sure that I'm fully supported is going to make it so everything else I'm doing gets easier. It's a lot easier now because I've gone through that process. And just to throw this in, the momentum planner and the morning routine will help you do this because it will help you quickly shift perspective by writing things out, by eliminating decision-making fatigue, by having clarity through a framework and showing you how when you take time for yourself, it actually creates momentum. And when you don't, you have massive diminishing returns. Nick Houston says, can you do this the night before or should it always be done in the morning? Nick, we have people that do it either way. I would say that in our membership, probably 80-90% of people do it in the morning. About 10 or 20% of people do it at night. Personally, I just like to do it in the morning. It's part of my morning routine. It works for me in the morning. I feel like I'm clearer in the morning about what I want to do. I like setting things up in the morning. So for me, I have a close the day and then I open the day with my morning planning. But we have members that close the day and plan at night and then get up in the morning and don't have to do any planning. They just grab their book and go. You can do it either way. Asher says, you kind of hinted at this before, but how would you modify this for an owl whose brain is most active at night? Exactly what I just said to Nick. You can close the day at the end of the day and open the day, or you can create your planning for the next day at night and just do it at the end of the day. And then you wake up in the morning, whatever time you get up, your planning's already done. You're ready to go. That's the only real modification you have to make. The other thing you might want to do is if you're doing weekly planning, rather than doing it Sunday morning like I do, you might want to do it Sunday evening if you really are a night owl. The reason I like doing it Sunday morning is when I finish my weekly report, I submit it to my team. And even though I don't want my team working on weekends, most of them take the 5 minutes that it takes to click on my weekly report, read it, and know what's going on with me for the week. Let's see here. Brian Barton says, does the waterfall for your business have the same process and structure as your personal waterfall? Is there a framework or documentation that we can access the business waterfall when we get the planner? So Brian, yes, all of our planning systems use the following high-level strategy. Hall of Fame goal, 1 year, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily execution. So in our relationship process, that's how it is. In our business process, that's how it is. In our personal process, that's how it is. On the Hall of Fame goals, there's a different way to get there in a business than in your personal life, than in a relationship. We have different frameworks for each one of those, but the planning structure is identical so that if you join us and you use the momentum planner and it works for you, chances are the business stuff is going to work for you. If you're using the personal and business, chances are it's going to work in your relationship with your spouse or with your operator or with someone on your team. And so the way that you can access the business waterfall is the entry-level program that we have where the business waterfall system is all included is called Foundation. If you go through the sharfin.com/offer and you end up picking up the morning routine and the momentum planner, I think we have a page on Foundation, or you can also go to sharfin.com/foundation and check it out. And then the last question that we have so far is from Emily Evans. How do you keep your vision clear of where you want to end up and not squirrel on things? Such a good question, Emily. It's the Sharfin process. And by the way, I've been diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, hyperactivity. Like when I was younger, I was called restless and a behavioral issue and all kinds of other stuff. As I was older, I got diagnosed with Asperger's and autism and all kinds of other symptomatic stuff. When there's high pressure and noise, I can look like a person who needs a lot of help, maybe like occupational therapy. When there's low pressure and noise, I can jump in front of a room and command a room of 5,000 people. And so, Emily, the way that I keep my vision clear and I don't go sideways on things is I follow our system. Remember when I said coaching inception? The Sharfin process was created for me. Analyze, prioritize, commit, execute, and renew. Sounds kind of innocent, but here's what happens in this. If you analyze all the things you could do, you now have a lot of clarity as to what your available options are. Then you prioritize what you should do in order. You now have a lot of clarity around what you should be doing and where your energy and your effort should go. Then you commit. You've now done work to create a commitment and make sure that you are committed to what you're doing. And then you open up an execution period. Here's my rule. During the execution period, I don't change the rules on anybody around me. When we're in an execution period, I don't say, hey, we should have done this instead. I make sure that we just execute what we have, and then that way we're not going in 50 different directions. As entrepreneurs, we often think that the most recent idea we have is the best one. Reality is the most recent idea we have is just that, the most recent idea we have. If we open up commitment and execution periods where we allow ourselves and our team to work through something and understand what we're capable of without squirreling or going after the shiny objects, then when we come back and renew and do it again, we have even more confidence in the framework we're using, in the time that we have, and in ourselves. I love that question, Emily. Thank you for asking it. I think that's it.
I got one more.
One more.
That I just pulled from Kimberly Ryan Wellness. How do you use the planner with your kids?
So each morning, so the question is, how do I use this planner with my kids? So each morning, my kids go through the exact same process I just shared with you. They make sure that they filled in they're grateful for and where they won the day before, and then we sit down, and each day, they're homeschooled, like so many kids are today, but my kids have been homeschooled for about 6 years. I took over homeschooling for about a year ago. The first thing I did was give them the momentum planner. So they fill in their schedule for the day, so what classes they have, what school they have. They fill in all the homework they have for that day so that we have a clear checklist. Everything they need to do is in one place. They fill in where they were uncomfortable the day before, what's their intention for the day, and then we select the top 3. At the end of the day, when I'm closing out my day, I sit down with my girls and I ask them, did you do everything on your list? We review it all. I check them out of homeschool. And so checking them out means if there's spelling homework, I look at the spelling homework, I verify it's done. If there's geography homework, I look at that and verify it's done. I used to think that the Momentum Planner was game changing. When I started using it with my kids, I really now think it's magical. I've seen it change them more than anybody that I've ever given it to. Like I said, I started homeschooling about a year ago. Like, I know that we can do better. I know that we can do better for the girls. And I think I'm going to use the Momentum Planner. I started using the Momentum Planner, and this is the actual results we got. In about 30 days, my kids were getting more done in the first couple days of the week than they were getting done all week. By the end of a quarter, they were getting more done in a day than they were doing weekly. And that is a legit verifiable outcome, because when they didn't have process structure and routine, when it wasn't clear, when there wasn't a clear execution period, when they didn't analyze, prioritize, and commit in the morning, it was kind of all over the place. Once we started doing that, everything changed. And yesterday, my kids had all of their schoolwork done for all of their classes on Tuesday, which is a heavy day, and they were complete by about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which is a huge win for us, because between going to school and doing homework, it can sometimes take them till 4 or 5 or even 5:30 or 6. Yesterday it was done early, and we're focused on doing that over and over again this week. So the Momentum Planner has absolutely changed my kid's life and changed homeschooling for us. And then, Eddie, on this last question by Asher, is the physical copy sent overseas for the Momentum Planner? Does our funnel allow for overseas shipment?
I know it's possible. Greg, are we doing overseas shipment for the planner? Yes. Greg says yes.
Yes, Asher. There might be an additional fee, but yes, we are shipping overseas. It might take a little bit longer, especially with all the COVID restrictions, but we've got you covered. So Namita Dash just said I ordered. Awesome. Looks like a lot of people have already ordered. Thank you so much for ordering. I appreciate you all. Thanks for being here. Eddie, no more questions?
Nope.
Okay. We're not done. We're not done. I just want you to remember, we are not done. Tomorrow morning, I'm coming back at 10 a.m. And what am I covering tomorrow, Eddie? I lost that page. We got too much going on.
And we're doing the entrepreneurial lenses.
Okay, so tomorrow we are going to have some fun. In the morning, we're going to do another exercise, just like we did today for the client-centric mission, only tomorrow is called the momentum equation. I'm going to show every one of you how you have created momentum throughout your lives. What is that going to reveal to you? Exactly what you should be doing right now to get back into momentum. I can't wait to show it to you. And then in the afternoon, I'm going to go into more detail on our entrepreneurial long-term planning system. Let me show you the lenses you should use, the perspective you should use to create a forward plan that will get you excited, get your team excited, and put you and everyone around you into momentum. I can't wait to see you there. Thanks for being here with me today. This was a ton of fun. Appreciate you all.